the decisions people are making right now about their businesses are going to influence what happens over the next year. And I think we're going to see a big influx of teams, either teams growing in size.
Welcome back to the MegaTeam Mastermind Podcast, where we interview successful real estate MegaTeam leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure, building profitable real estate teams that make an impact and leave a legacy. I'm your host, John Tiller, and today we've got Jennifer Staats joining us from Colorado Springs. I've been really excited to have Jennifer on the show. We met not too long ago at Tahoe at a Cheplack coaching event, and Jennifer is the owner of Staats Solutions. It's a virtual operations management firm specializing in operations consulting and support specifically for real estate mega teams. As a licensed agent, Jennifer has sold many properties and managed agents and brokers with transactions nationwide. She's also opened multiple businesses and franchises across the U.S. Jennifer, we're so excited to have you today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Awesome. Well, listen, why don't we start out by you just sharing a little bit of your journey? Like, how did you get into real estate, and then how did you get into the business that you've got now, and what's the story behind that?
Yeah. So I have been in real estate since I was 20 years old. I cannot for the life of me tell you why I dropped out of college and got my real estate license. I don't know what exactly made me do that, but I just jumped right in. And I actually started, before I even got my license, I started as an unpaid intern, which I'm not sure how legal that is anymore in California, but I was an unpaid intern. I really just wanted, I'm the type of person that just kind of like jumps right in. So I was like, I want to learn from teams. I joined a team, jumped right in, started doing transactions and management and selling and all that stuff. And over time, while I was selling, I had the opportunity to run a couple offices, decided I was really good at the operations side. I was really, good at spotting the gaps, helping people build things. And I also like selling at the same time. So I did that for quite a few years. I worked at the agency in Beverly Hills. I opened a couple different franchises, and then I had kids. And I decided that I could not continue to not only work a 9-to-5, but I was also selling on nights and weekends. So that was okay prior to having kids, but once I had kids, I was like, this is not, I've got to give something up here. So my husband and I decided along the same lines, we decided to move from California to Colorado. And I also decided I was not going to get a 9-to-5 when we moved. So I started Staats Solutions. It was a crazy idea I had because I really like doing operations. I had never heard of anyone doing that virtually at that point because this was pre-COVID. And I started it. Within months, we had multiple clients. I started to have to hire help, and it has just taken off from there.
Wow. So tell us a little bit more. What exactly does Staats Solutions do from a operations perspective? Mm-hmm. It's support, but exactly what does the company do, and exactly what is your role in that today, and how did you kind of develop into that?
Yeah. So we run the operations and marketing of real estate brokerages and teams. So we only work in the real estate sector. Very important because I feel like real estate is so different than a lot of other industries. So all of our team, we have a team of 15 currently. All of our team has various real estate experience, but working with multiple teams and brokerages all at the same time, we can take little bits and pieces of knowledge from all of our coaching, our clients, their coaches, all the different industries they're in. So on a day-to-day basis, depending on, budget and how much they want us involved. And there's a whole thing that maybe we'll dig into a little bit later as far as like roles goes, right? We have a lot of our team leads that maybe don't want to let certain things go, but we're helping them build systems. We're helping them onboard, offboard agents, create training, basically all the back-end systems. We can either do it all in-house, or a lot of times we are helping manage their staff, right? So we have a lot of our clients, probably about 50%, that do want an in-house receptionist, or they have an assistant, or they have a VA that they want to keep. I'm happy to manage, train that, hire new people, all of those things. So really just all the day-to-day we're running for our teams.
Wow, it seems like you're designed as a turnkey solution for brokerages and teams on the operations side. Most of us, as team leaders, we get into this because we figured out how to sell real estate. We talk about a lot of times how real estate's not really rocket science, but it just, we learn what we need to learn, usually in less than 10,000 hours, like the book says. But then we get into running a business and managing people, and it becomes more than what we think. And we really just, most of us have the ability to recruit, because recruiting agents is a lot like recruiting sellers, or listing agents is a lot like listing sellers, right? But the operations piece is just, and the leadership piece is just completely new to us. So you're providing that. So tell us about how long have you been in that business, and you've got people that are doing it with you. You've delegated and grown your business. What's your superpower, and what is the role that you see that you're not gonna delegate as the owner of Staats Solutions?
Yeah, when I started Staats, it was just me. We were just hiring Jennifer for fractional operations, and that grew really quickly. And I think my superpower, I can see the gaps in things. Like I can spend 45 minutes on a call with a team lead, ask a series of questions, and know exactly what they need, right? Without them even really telling me. I'm asking them certain things about who they've hired in the past and what they like doing, right? And then I'm really figuring out what their superpower is, maybe the reason why they're stuck on a few things. I can get a pretty good idea. So I would say that's probably my superpower. I have a pretty good feeling on people about spending a whole lot of time with them. And then now we're finding, and it's funny you asked this because I just hired my own operations manager. And so we're really trying to hone in over the next 12 months on my zone of genius, my superpower, really what my role should be moving forward. And it's really just kind of getting the word out about what we're doing, helping more team leads, kind of being the face of the company, a little less of me doing the work, just kind of overseeing it. We have multiple operators now that run the teams within our team. So helping and guiding them is how my role has evolved. Staats has been open for 7 years, so it's taken a while to get here, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
That's awesome. And just the benefit of having the knowledge, because teams really, there's a whole lot. The reason that we do masterminds like this, and the reason that masterminds work so well across the country, is it doesn't really matter where you are across North America. And we all have relatively the same issues that we're dealing with, no matter where we're running our businesses. And to have that expertise on the back end is phenomenal. You had referenced your genius. Does that come from the working genius, Patrick Lencioni's working genius, or is that a reference from something else?
Yeah, it's from that, and I think it's really understanding what your genius is and where you should be focusing. It's really important. I mean, it's important for anyone, but I think it's super important for CEOs and owners of companies to understand where their focus should be. Because I think a lot of us as business owners, and I find it a lot with realtors, they are very good at something. It could be selling, it could be talking to people, it could be marketing, it could be, there's a couple buckets I put a lot of our team leaders in.
Right.
And they need to focus on that specific area and not try to do it all. Because when we're at 150 million plus a year, there are a lot of things that you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis. You can't possibly master all of it.
That's right. Yeah, Lencioni makes the case. I think we may have talked about it on this podcast before. For those of you who haven't heard of that, definitely pick up the book Working Genius from Patrick Lencioni. He's also got a podcast that's really, really great about that. And his basis is that, his thesis is that there are, each of us have zones of work that we find joy in, and other zones that we have frustrations in. And in between there, we have competencies that we don't really find a whole lot of joy, but we're really good at it.
Yeah.
And then for a lot of high capacity leaders, you even find some that are really good in their areas of frustration. They just don't like doing it, but they're really good at it. So they think that they need to keep doing it. And so when we're coaching, we use that as part of our coaching program, and have all of our folks, the whole team, and develop a team map around Working Genius. It's a really, really, really good tool. Along those lines, so you've met with, coached, supported, partnered with a lot of teams and brokerages. What's the biggest leadership mistake that you see that team leaders make in our industry that's most common across the board?
I think it's just that they aren't aware of what their genius is, or they're just trying to do everything. They've got their hands in the marketing, they're building out their CRM, they're in there messing with their website, they're building operations, they're selling, they're recruiting, they're doing all these things, right? So where I find a lot of times when I'm talking to a team lead for the first time, they have this long list of things that has been started, or they purchased, or they did all these things, but they never actually executed on any of it because they're spending so much time trying to figure all these things out that just nothing ever happens.
You mean other team leaders have shiny object syndrome also?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
John, it's one of my favorite things to do when we're really digging into stuff, if a team lead will let me, like doing just like a credit card statement audit and being like, let's look at the last 6 months. What's like hitting your card on a yearly basis or a monthly basis? And let's make sure you're actually utilizing those things. I often find that we are utilizing it, but then when you log in, you're paying for 25 seats, but you're only using 18. And so we can like maybe redirect some of the money just by doing something as simple as that. But it starts with the shiny objects, and we're going to coaching events where we sign up for this stuff and then we don't have a person to execute on it. And so we just waste time and energy. I think that's the biggest leadership mistake I see.
Awesome. Now, tell me about, personally, as you built your business, tell me about leadership lessons there. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned that you can be specific about?
Yeah, I would say it's around hiring and or just setting up new systems. I think initially when I first started hiring for Staats, I'm like, okay, I need all this help. I'll just hire an assistant and that'll just take all the weight off, right? Like it'll just be this magic thing that happens that I hired this person and it's just going to, not thinking that like, okay, if you take the numbers, okay, I'm working 50 hours a week. This person is going to come on and work 30 hours a week. I'm thinking I'm going to be getting back all that time. I'm not really thinking about the fact that I need to invest in this new person, this new tech, this new system to really make it work long term. So I would say I've created a system internally that, when we're onboarding someone, there's a bunch of touch points. There's things that we've built into the culture because turnover's expensive and I don't want it to happen. So I've invested a lot in that, but definitely a mistake I made in the beginning. I was just instantly thinking it's going to be this magic fix-all solution when really I needed to be like, hey, I'm going to need for the first 90 days, 10 hours of my week needs to be focused on making sure this person's trained and knows the systems and all of these things. Instead, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't plan for this. So definitely big lesson.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that for sure. I'd love to get your take, especially on the operations side. We talk a lot about when we've been through that as team leaders and we learn that lesson, we talk about hiring slow and firing fast, and obviously budgeting for the training in the middle and realizing that it's not gonna work out. Would you agree with that mantra, or would you challenge that mantra about hiring slow and firing fast?
I think at one point that was a true statement. I think right now with the way the market is, I would actually disagree and say that it's the opposite. The way that I look at hiring is I'm going to bring this person on and I'm going to give it a wholehearted try for them to work either in the role that I brought them in on or maybe a different role within the company. And I also train my managers. If something's happening, let's say I bring someone on and they're not understanding a tool or they're not understanding a process or something's going awry, my first reaction is it's my fault. I set up the training incorrectly for them to properly figure this out. Let me edit it and make it more clear. And I actually use it as like a learning tool for the company as a whole to edit our onboarding, edit our training. Now, if we have other tools in place that if I can see that this person has gone back and watched the training 7 times and they still are unable to complete the task, that might be a whole other issue. But I want to say we very rarely let people go at Staats. It's probably been like maybe 2 times. And that was like 6 months of writing someone up, working with them, changing their role. So we're big on improving our process to make these new trainees successful.
I love that you said that. I think asking at least what could I have done better, or what can I do better to help this person succeed? We're waiting for that. And I think it's tied to what you said earlier is we're thinking that we make this hire, it's a magic pill, and it's just all of a sudden everything's just going to be perfect. And when it's not perfect, we don't take the time to look at our process, both from a hiring standpoint, but mostly to your point, from an onboarding standpoint. Like, did we give them the tools and the resources that they needed? And unfortunately, that's one of the hard parts about leadership, but it's a whole lot easier to realize that and put a little more time into them. Yeah. And, I talk to the folks that I coach about, if we hired them, we owe it to them to give them the best that we have. And then if it's not a good fit, is there another seat on the bus, or is it that's good for them, or do they need to just be on another bus because we missed it on the culture fit?
Yeah.
So the real estate market, it's an understatement to say that it has been changing lately, and that there are changes ahead. Also, tell me about what you, as a leader in the industry, tell me about what you're forecasting for the market and the changes, maybe especially changes that people don't see coming, but even the ones that people do see coming. What do you see as the biggest changes in the market and the way that real estate teams are going to need to be run over the next 12 months and beyond?
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because we see different data points because we do run so many different teams and they are in so many different markets. And to me, it's really fun to watch where I'm on meetings with clients and, you almost see this like fluctuation, like, man, we're getting a little bit slow. And then I kind of like track, okay, what market are they in? What's going, what price point? And then all of a sudden you'll get feedback. Oh my gosh, we're getting so busy. So it's really fun to see this wave across our clients as they, the ebb and flow of the business. I mean, there's been a couple times over the last 24 months where, we had a few clients who were like, wow, this is tough, right? But then instantly we're seeing them go back up. Where I'm thinking just the industry as a whole is going to change, and we've already seen this change, right, are really with teams. I really truly believe that the decisions people are making right now about their businesses are going to influence what happens over the next year. And I think we're going to see a big influx of teams, either teams growing in size, or we're going to see a lot of people that fizzle out, right? There's so many changes in the market right now that if they're not paying good attention to what's going on in their financials or their business, we might see them back out over the next year. We also have a very interesting data point in hiring, right? So every time I post a job ad, whether it's for myself or a client, I can see the people that are applying. And to me, that's a really interesting data point because I'm seeing a lot of individual agents applying for things like transaction coordinators or administrative assistants or marketing assistants, where they didn't have any experience doing these things, but they've been an agent. So I think there's a lot of individual agents right now, just kind of either looking to get out of the business or they're looking to join a team to support them. So I'm really seeing like our mega teams, if they do it right, are going to grow over the next 12 months.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's good news for the team leaders and the people who are committed to growing their leadership and their teams. Talk to me about something that I think, again, you have this unique perspective on because you're doing operations and marketing, AI. How is AI changing the industry? I don't think it's a question or an argument anymore as to if it's changing or going to change, but how have you already seen it change day-to-day business, and how do you see it in the future for day-to-day business, especially as it relates to team leaders?
Mm-hmm. So where I see it changing or not changing, I don't think it's going to change like us as realtors being a needed thing. I think there was a little bit of,
Sure.
fear factor in that at some point.
Sure.
Where I see it is I think it's actually allowing us as teams to do more. So where 12 months ago we may have wanted to say, hey, I'm going to write a blog a month. Okay, I'm going to do that. But I had a copywriter doing it. Now I can say, hey, I can keep that same copywriter on staff, but now I can leverage them to use AI to now do 4. And now they can write new email campaigns, and now they can do all these other things. That's how we're using it across our teams. That's also how I'm using it within Stats. So there used to be a person that would write all the copy of hashtags and all that stuff. Now we're using AI to do some of the same stuff. I'm not getting rid of this person. I'm just able to do more now. And so I think that's where a lot of our teams, if they're not our team, but even just teams leads listening to this, they can utilize AI to do more video editing, copywriting, all sorts of graphic creation. We can utilize that and then use a skilled person to double check that, make sure that it's going out right. We don't want to just completely run our business with AI because there's too much room for errors at this point.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. Do you see other applications for AI in the future to help agents and team leaders build relationships beyond being able to do more marketing in less time? Are there other things that you see them being able to use that for?
I've seen a couple instances, and I can't say it's 100% yet, but I've seen a couple instances where like building like AI assistants where, helping them schedule things or reminding them of stuff. A lot of CRM type AI that I'm seeing where we're able to set follow-ups or text messages or phone calls. And again, it's newer, right? So we need to pay attention to what we're setting up in our business. But I'm seeing a lot of different instances where we can layer on these things that maybe we wanted to do before, but we didn't have time or we didn't have the person to execute on. And maybe this AI can remind us of these things we want to do, or they can draft it for us.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think the jury's still out on some of these things where the AI takes my place, right? So it's like you're talking to John here, but the AI invented a John over there that when that seller call, that listing lead comes in, I'm responding. It looks a lot like me and sounds a lot like me. A little scary, but also, used in the right context can be very helpful. And literally, we talk about how we need to be in multiple places at once. I think the jury's still out as to whether consumers will accept that, but it seems like it could be a thing. And like you said, especially in the CRMs seem to be on the leading edge of that, and some of the brokerages too.
Yeah, I think I get a little wary when they're completely replacing us, but I think there's stuff that we can do. For instance, a lot of us want like an FAQ, like how does this transaction work? All of that knowledge is something I could give to AI and help our clients with a knowledge base, right?
Yes.
Now, do I want my AI giving contractual advice to a client? I don't think so.
Right.
We can do to kind of take some of that stuff off of our plate.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. What have you seen with your teams? And I think specifically, I want to ask you about the NAR settlement from a profitability standpoint. And are you seeing with your teams in any kind of structure, any kind of ways that they're restructuring around NAR, the NAR settlement, and having potentially more unrepresented buyers contact the team? Or are you just saying, hey, it's kind of like everybody says it's a non-event, and we've always done buyer agency the way we've done it, and we've always dealt with unrepresented buyers the way we've dealt with them, and there may be a change in that, but it's certainly not dragging on our business?
So with the NAR settlement, well before the settlement actually came, we've been following what was going on.
Sure.
And it has been interesting across all of our different clients on their response, because it was really by state on the way that they had been doing buyer's agency over the years. We had some states like Colorado didn't really seem to faze many people because we had already had some of these agreements in place beforehand. So the way that people did business is a little different. Now, on the profitability piece, I'm actually seeing our teams set themselves up to be more profitable, because we're training our agents, right, to go into a presentation and tell them what our worth is and how we get compensated. So you're not backed into, we've all been backed into the situation where you go to show house, you realize it's 1% comp on the MLS. You don't have a buyer's agency agreement that says that you get 3, so you have to take 1. So the situation, I think, is actually setting everyone up for more success, because you're telling in the beginning, this is what I charge. This is what our team charges. And these are all the things that I offer that a lot of our clients didn't know as a buyer's agent we were doing, because we never did these presentations like a listing presentation. And they had no idea.
Yeah, such a good point. I think that's happening on the buy side. I also see on the list side, with a lot of MLSs just taking away offers of compensation altogether, and a lot of brokers taking away offers of compensation altogether, regardless of whether the MLS does or not.
Yep.
We have on the list side, people have this mindset of a market rate commission that's, this number.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of telling them, hey, we're going to charge you our full side, they can actually increase their side. And then if they're unrepresented, increase it even more if they want to. And I think what's happening there is, in the end, they rarely does the client get the downside of that deal, because there are a lot more agents still out there. Back to your point earlier about they're looking for something new, they're applying for marketing jobs, they're applying for admin jobs, or want to be a part of a team. If you're not on a team, you're really at a disadvantage, because you're not able to justify this higher fee on the buy side. So it's actually pushing people out, because the consumer's not going to pay more on both sides, I don't believe. I think there are certainly rare exceptions where that will happen, but I think that is definitely pressure on the agent. But again, back to what you said earlier, opportunity, right? Opportunity for the team and the team to be more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great that you're seeing that across the industry. So we talk a lot on this podcast about impact and legacy. And so I wanted to talk about, specifically with your business, what you're most proud of that your company is doing to make an impact.
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is helping team leads realize that they have a couple different options, right? They want to grow their business, or they want to do these things. We can grow their business and also get them more time back. It doesn't necessarily, I think we're all kind of trained, right? In order to get to X, I'm going to have to double my hours. And that's not the case, and it's not healthy, and it's not sustainable. So I think the thing I'm most proud of is there's been a couple different ways we've helped teams. We've scaled so they can just make more money, do more, add more agents, transactions. We've also taken teams and also scaled their business, but got our team lead back enough time where they could go on a vacation. Their relationship with their family got better. I mean, all of these things where a lot of us don't even realize we're just almost trained with this rat race of, if I want to grow this company, it means way more work. It means not showing up for my family. It means not taking care of myself. And so I think that's one of the things I'm the most proud of is I kind of come in and I'm like, hey, you don't have to do it this way. Like, we can automate, we can hire, we can scale and get you back time. And then you can do whatever you want with that time, right? You can work out, you can go on vacation, or you can start another company, whatever you want to do with that extra chunk of time.
You actually can have your cake and eat it too. It is, they are not mutually exclusive, profitability and getting your time back. In fact, the best of the best have lots of margin and are still super profitable, even more profitable than others. That's awesome that you are doing that to make an impact with folks. So you talked about at the beginning of the show that you have children that you moved from California to Colorado. You've got children. Your husband is also works and is working from home, and you're both kind of working from home. How do you balance or integrate your business with your family? How do you maintain that balance of what's most important?
So, and this is kind of where it's become my mantra over time, where I tell my clients the same thing. I built Staats around what was important for my family. I knew when I started Stats, my like why, and it's such a simple why, but I wanted to be able to work and do the stuff I like. I wasn't built to be a stay-at-home mom. Bless anybody that does that.
Sure.
Amazing job. I wasn't built like that, but I really wanted to be involved. I wanted to be able to drop my kids off. I wanted to be able to pick them up. I wanted to be able to volunteer and do things with them. And so I built Stats around that. I set the expectations with my clients and my team members that these were my working hours. I take Thursdays off and I call it like my mom day. It's the day I volunteer at their school and I do all that type of stuff. So the way I integrated it was I set these expectations in the beginning and I hold to that. Like now everybody knows. There's even clients that call me and it'll be Thursday and I'll answer the phone because I tell them I will answer the phone. There may be children with me though. So you're taking the risk if you call me on a Thursday that there might be some crazy hellion behind me. And then they'll say, oh my gosh, it's Thursday. I shouldn't have called you. Like that's the expectation I'm setting with them because they know that that's really important. And then they have me 100% Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I also have a very supportive husband that has always supported my business growth. I travel a lot too. So sometimes I give up a little bit of my pickup and drop off, but for the most part, that's really how I've integrated the two.
So many examples that you're modeling that so well. So many lessons to be learned from there. But yeah, big rocks first, and the family's the big rock, right? They're the ones who get the first thing on your calendar. And also you can do Thursday. There's so many agents, and I think team leaders understand that weekends are possible to be the time that you're not available. But your illustration of Thursday means, any day, just pick the day, like pick the day that works, that's best for your family. That's a super great example of how to model that. Tell me about your personal legacy and your company's legacy. What do you see as your legacy for both personally and for your company?
I think they're actually very similar. I think our legacy at Stats is really helping these business owners grow the business in the way that they want their business to grow, right? I think a lot of us watch Instagram or YouTube and they're like, oh, to get to here, I have to set up a business like this, right? Where just like earlier we said, they have to work 80 hours a week. I have to grind and not go on vacation. It's like, I think one of our legacies at Stats is, and we do this with our staff as well, is really provide people flexibility, help them build the life that they dreamed of. Is probably my biggest thing within Stats. And that's personally too. I'm always urging friends or employees or coworkers that they can do whatever they want. Like you can build it. You just have to like put your mind to it and focus on the rocks that are important.
So good. As we're recording this, it's early December, and it's the time of year where we're actually a little bit late to the game if we're just starting 2025 planning right now, but a lot of people are in that. And there's so many of us that have been trained to do the standard business planning of, okay, well, how much did you sell this year? What was your volume? What was your average sales price? And what do you want to do next year? How do you want to change it? And what are you going to do different to do that? That's all super important. But I believe that that's step 2. Step 1 is setting, what do you want for your life? Like, where's your life at right now? Where in all areas of life, in your faith, in your finance, in your family, your friends, like how are you doing with all of those things? And then and how does your business fit into that? And to start with that, we started our 2025 planning yesterday. We did did a class yesterday on 2025 planning, and we never got to the step 2 part because everybody's doing that. Like you can do that later. That's great. You need to do it.
Yeah.
But the step 1 part is, what do you want? And like you said, Jen, you can build. You need to know what you want in order to build what you want, and you can build it. As we wrap up today, what are you reading or listening to right now?
So we do a quarterly book club with all of the team. So I have this giant, it's literally like this giant Amazon wish list of like every time someone tells me a book, it gets added on there. And then we kind of vote as a team on what we want the next subject to be. And a lot of it goes from just maybe books we already have or we haven't read or we want to revisit, or maybe it's a subject that's come up that we need to focus on as a team. So the one that we just finished is actually called I think it's the workplace love language. That one was really interesting to read as a team. And then we put everybody on the team, we had take the test to figure out how they like to receive appreciation. That one was interesting. We learned a lot about everybody on the team, and because we're virtual, and so I always tend to thank people publicly, right? I'll broadcast whatever happened as a win. And so my big takeaway from that book was not everybody loves that form of appreciation, right? Like some people dread that. And so now we kind of integrated that as part of our employee onboarding. We're going to have them take that test when they're onboarding, so then we're aware of how they like to receive appreciation.
Well, that just got added to my giant Amazon wish list. That's awesome. What a great merging of the classic 5 love languages and how to apply it to the workplace. Mm-hmm. I can't wait. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So last question, most important thing that team leaders need to know in today's market?
I think the most important thing is they need to be tracking everything, right? With the way our market is and all the transitions, we've got new president, we've got settlement, we've got market, all of these things. Everything needs to be tracked. Hopefully everyone that's listening are tracking your transactions and your ROI. No judgment if you aren't, but please be doing that kind of stuff.
A little bit of judgment.
But you need to be tracking everything, right? So are you tracking your recruiting efforts? Are you tracking your budget? Have you done your business planning? Does that include budgeting? Are you tracking marketing dollars and ROI? I'm telling you, everyone might say they're tracking their marketing. They are not tracking it on a high enough level to actually see if it's doing anything for you. So really, I think that's the biggest thing, is that everyone needs to be keeping a really tight eye on where their money's being spent. Are they making money off of it? Are you tracking your agents? Not only their data and their sales, but are you tracking how happy they are at your team? Do you have data points on that? Do you have check-ins with them? Are you making sure that you're not going to lose half your team? Because I've seen a lot of teams, they have this huge goal for the next year. They go into Q1 and half their team leaves, and now their entire goal for next year is off track. So,
and the irony sometimes is that that's why the team left, was they felt like you were focused more on growth than you were on the people you had.
And this has actually been an interesting one, John, because this is something that no team lead thinks about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You do your 2025 goal, right?
Yep.
You want to sell $200 million. You actually go back and you check what your agent's goals are. And your agent's goals don't match up with what your goal is, and no one's putting those two together, right? I've had teams that were like, I want to hit $1 billion. But then when we went back and looked at their agent's goals, they only wanted to sell 10 million. Yeah. And I'm going, you got 10 people on the team. Numbers aren't numbering. You need to find agents that want to do more. This person doesn't have those interests. So something to think about too, are you going back to everyone's production numbers, and are everyone's goals in alignment?
Well, 100%. And how are you filling that gap when they're not? Because as the leader, you set the vision, the speed of the leader, speed of the team. And so if your vision's always going to be bigger than the sum of the parts of what you have today. And so recruiting is just a huge piece of that. And that's how you, it's not very easy to get more production out of agents who don't have a goal to have more production. I'd say it's impossible. Mm-hmm. And so, what a great way to make sure that you're matching that up and make sure that the sum of the parts adds up to the whole of your goal. And if not, how are you going to fill that gap?
Yep.
Well, Jennifer, man, thank you so much. Wow, what a great time talking to you today. I learned a lot. I know the folks that are listening learned a lot. Tell us, where can people find you if they want to follow up with you after the show?
Yeah, you can always follow me on Instagram, either our company one, which is Staats Solutions, or my personal, which is very easy to find, Jennifer the Realtor. I have OG Instagram account.
Wow. Wow. Is that for sale?
It might need to be. I'm like, I will not change it because it's the best, easiest Instagram. And we've got a lot of really fun things being released over the next couple of months. So you can always go to our website, statssolutions.com. We have a newsletter, sign up on there, where we just send out monthly newsletters to kind of keep you in the loop on new products, new offerings that we've got coming out.
Man, that sounds super exciting. I'm going to go sign up for that. And again, just thanks, Jennifer. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. See you again soon.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the MegaTeam Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and, of course, to our sponsor, MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's MegaTeamMentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you